We have thus dealt with the various attainments of the third sadhana, which is the Shat We now come to the last of the sadhana, which is the Mumukshatva. Little remains now to be accomplished when a man comes to this stage except to develop close association with the absolute reality or actual merging in the state of non-entity. It is the practical phase of realization and could be achieved after earnest practice of the elementary sadhanas under the old system of yoga. The modern system of Sahaj Marga makes a diversion from the set old path in the respect that it does not take up the different parts of the steps of the Ashtanga Yoga one by one separately, but they're all taken up simultaneously during the course of our meditation. Meditation in due course leads us to concentration or the state of Samadhi. So yesterday we had just left it here. Babaji is using the word concentration in the context of Samadhi. Thus, we naturally proceed to Samadhi, which is the final step of yoga. There are three forms of Samadhi, stages of concentration. So don't confuse that with the concentration at the level of the mind. Concentration at the level of the mind is what we called yesterday the Ekagra Vritti. Remember that. Now, this is different. The first phase of Samadhi is wherein a man feels lost or drowned. His senses, feeling, emotions are temporarily suspended in a way that they seem apparently dead for the time being. He resembles a man in dead slumber, unconscious of everything. So this is the first stage of Samadhi. You're totally oblivious to everything. Okay. The second stage is in which a man, though deeply concentrated on a point, does not feel actually drowned in it. It may be described as a state of consciousness within an unconscious state. Apparently, he is not conscious of anything, but still consciousness is present within, though only in a shadowy form. A man walks along the road thinking deeply over some problem. He is so absorbed in it that he is not conscious of anything else, nor does he see anything in the way, nor hears the sounds of voices nearby. He goes on in an unconscious state of mind, but still he does not collide with a tree by the roadside, nor he is knocked down by a car coming that way. In that state of unconsciousness, he unknowingly attends to all these necessities and acts on as occasion demands. He has no consciousness of the actions. It is consciousness in an unconscious state. In this state of mind, the consciousness of other things appears to be in a sleeping state and creates little impression. There is no samskara formation. You are not aware of anything at all, while you do everything automatically. Okay, that's the second stage of samadhi. This has happened now many times. When you are engrossed with a particular problem, you drive from one place to another place. This has happened. I'm just giving you a very common example. You drive from one place to another place. You would have spoken to so many people during the course of your journey. You would have taught so many things. You would have seen so many things on the way, but you don't remember anything. How you moved from that place to this place, you are also not aware. If somebody were to ask you, no, I remember that I started the vehicle, but and then I reached the place. What happened in between, you have no clue. Okay. Now this can happen many times, especially for people who get engrossed in family problems. No, this can happen many times. They do so many things automatically. Okay, and there are people rushing towards the family now because they want to experience this state. Okay. Third form of samadhi is called as Sahaj Samadhi. This is the finest type of concentration. In this state, a man is busy with his work and his mind is being absorbed in it, but in the innermost core of his heart, he is still settled on the real thing. So that is important, settled on the real thing. Then in the second stage, you are oblivious. There is some awareness, but you are not aware of the real thing. But in the Sahaj Samadhi, you are settled in the real thing. A man is busy with his work, his mind is absorbed in it, but in the innermost core of his heart, he is still settled on the real thing. When his conscious mind is busy with the external work, at the same time, his subconscious mind is busy with the divine thoughts. He is all the while in a state of samadhi, although apparently he is busy with worldly works. This is the highest form of samadhi, and little remains to be done after man has entered into this state permanently. All our practice is only to get established in this state permanently. Okay. The various spiritual stages. So this is an examination question. The three stages of concentration or three stages of samadhi. The various spiritual stages acquired during the Mars are characterized with special power and capacity for nature's work. In other words, as you go higher and higher, you become more and more enabled to do nature's work. The lowest region, known as the Pinda Pradesh, is composed of various subpoints located within the chest. It is the center of Panchagni Vidya, or so commonly spoken of in the ancient religious literature of the Hindus. When a man gains mastery over this region, he automatically develops within him an intuitional knowledge of science pertaining to matter. Intuitional knowledge of science pertaining to matter, which he can utilize in any way he likes after sufficient practice and experience. But as this achievement does not suit his purpose, so far as spirituality is concerned, under the efficient system of training, an aspirant is kept unmindful of all those material powers and is helped to cross over by the reflected power of the Guru. Please underline that. An Abhyasi is made to cross over the Pind Pradesh by the reflected power of the Guru. So there are two ways. If you read 44 Whispers, there are two ways of progress. One direct progress, other one is reflected progress. And in our spiritual sadhana, we are actually made to progress faster because of the reflected power of the Guru. So that his attention may not be attracted by anything other than that of a purely spiritual nature. He is then in a position to conduct pretty godly work entrusted to him. His sphere of work at this stage is a small locality or a town or a district or some bigger location. The nature of the work he does is the proper adjustment of the everything in action within his jurisdiction in perfect accordance with the demand of the nature. He introduces the required elements into his within his sphere and removes the unwanted ones. He is known as a rishi and his designation is Vasu. So Vasu is in the realm of the Pind Pradesh only. Okay, they are called as Rishi or Vasu. So we will stop here and then we'll continue from here tomorrow. It's coming up to 7:20. So we will stop here because there are a few points that we need to discuss as we go through this, the next two pages. So we'll discuss that as we go through. I don't think we'll have the time to cover the entire thing today without discussion. We can read it, but we'll not have any discussion. So better to discuss and then read and discuss. So there is some more conceptualization of what we are going to go through now in the last two pages, and then we go to the my vision. Okay. So any questions?
Pertaining to the second state of samadhi, where it says the knowledge of science pertaining to matter which he can utilize any way he likes after sufficient practice and experience. Correct? I just want to dwell on that for a little moment and take you back to the times when Lalaji, Lalaji was not yet born, and his mother was a very pious and devout lady who used to offer prayers to Ram and things like that. And then suddenly a fakir comes to her house asking for alms, and she manages to offer him fish and things like that. But that's besides the point. But later on, he finds out that there is a certain sorrow in her face, and then he is told that she has not begotten a child, and that's the reason for her sorrow. And while going back, he just says he does something like this. He does this and goes away, and then Lalaji is born. So I'm just trying to connect if the fakir had reached the second stage of samadhi. How could he connect? You know, it's material after all. I mean, Lalaji was born in a material form, but then he did this and went away. So did he do something, to conspire with nature or whatever that Lalaji was born?
No. In a way, it's wrong to assume that the fakir did something and Lalaji was born. Not that way. Fakir just gave an indication of what is likely to happen in future. In fact, he goes out of the house, Lalaji's house, after being fed by his mother, saying one and two, one and two. He just says one and two and just goes out. He doesn't give any further indications. And subsequent to that, that's the reason why when divine person wills something, it is bound to happen. You can look at it from two different ways. He was just giving an indication of what is the likely unfolding of nature. That's one possibility. The second possibility is that when a divine person wills something, then it is bound to happen. The more closer to reality you are in, the more likely that is going to take shape, fructify in this realm. So there are many times that we can also feel that certain things are likely to happen in future. You get a previous indication of that. And it's not like we are actually setting the stage. It's just that it's already in motion. We become aware of it, that this is likely to kind of manifest in due course of time. So that is what is going to happen. I would not say that that example would be the most close correlate of the second stage of the samadhi. The second stage of the samadhi is far more easily kind of experienced when the only difference is I gave you an example of a person who is engrossed in family problems. They go to the office, they do all the working, they do the coding, everything they do. But if somebody were to ask you, ask them how did they do the coding, they don't remember at all. Something would have happened and they would have actually written everything. Now, this can happen at office also, it can happen outside the office also. Many of us have actually experienced this state. If you actually look back at our own life, many of us actually would have experienced the states. Only difference is many people would have experienced this state in the context of the problems that they face in life. They are engrossed in the problem to such an extent that one part of the existence is functioning autonomously, while the other part of the existence is engrossed in the problem. Now, there are two levels of existence. One is functioning autonomously, other one is now engrossed in finding a solution to the problem. And this can be because of spiritual issues also, this can be because of material issues also. But the state is the same. It appears very similar. Even when a person is, for example, we have had, I can just give an example myself in 2004 or 5. We had just read the Upanishads, started reading the Upanishads, so engrossed in that reading of the Upanishads that I was just walking on the street without my knowledge. I would just go around everywhere and what do you say, not have any awareness at all. You don't bump into tree, you don't see anything, but then you are able to do everything. But your mind is totally engrossed in a particular realm. Now, there the mind was in the realm of spirituality, settled down, pondering about something that you have actually read or assimilated. So that can happen to anybody, and it has also happened in the context of, say, some worldly matters. Say there is some argument, and after the argument you are supposed to go to office. Now, you after the argument you are so disturbed. You take the vehicle and then you go to the office, and in the meanwhile, when you go to the drive to the office, you are totally unaware because your mind is totally engrossed in the problem. But at the same time, you will reach the office safely, not that you actually meet with any difficulties. So the two realms of our existence seem to kind of function autonomously. One
The
is
example
engrossed
of
in the issues.
the example of Archimedes and Madame Curie, probably. He ran on the streets of Rome naked, correct? He was oblivious of what was happening.
Correct.
So is that akin to that
Same thing
state?
with Madame
Probably
Curie
yes.
also.
Hmm,
Exactly.
hmm,
So see, although we read about these states in other people, if we actually look at our own life, all of us would have passed these stages. Every one of us. The third thing is a lot more difficult because for the third thing, the second stage of dwelling in the spiritual realm should be there. And then after that, you should settle down there permanently. That's the third level. So we are all very commonly happy to dwell on the material realm or material related issues and get lost. But very few people are there who can actually get lost while settling in the spiritual realm. And that's what we need to develop, and that is what we're actually practicing the meditation and spirituality for. Okay, no problem. Shall we stop here? 7:25. We'll
yes, sir.
catch up on Monday as usual. Okay, no problem. Have a nice day. Bye then.
Thank you,
Have a
brother.
good weekend, sister.
Thank you.
Thank you.